JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. August 16th, 2:30 on this fine Friday afternoon. Talk really quick about the market, some of the names I'm looking at, and go from there. But take a look at the SP, the SPY, all the way up to that 555 handle. I was putting in the chat room before. It held like a rock. Got right to 555, churn there, couldn't break through, and then we dipped a little bit back down here. We're about 540, 554.32 or so. We have Fed speak this afternoon, so of course that was, I guess you could say, some of the reason we pulled back from that level. But that looks like a key spot here. I don't know if we're going to close over it today, but definitely something to watch into next week. And then, I keep talking about Jackson Hole. That'll be the big conversation over the weekend. Nice little piece in Barron's. I posted a link in the chat room around what to look for, and it should be interesting. And hopefully, Powell just the tightrope that he's been walking. He hasn't had a lot of missteps over the last couple of years, and can kind of keep the market, I guess, just quell any concerns that we're falling into a recession, or the Fed didn't react quick enough. Um, I'm not sure if he's going to talk about the what happened with the Nikkei and then Japan, uh, and also what happened with the market from last week. But I'm sure that that'll come up a little bit. And then this morning as well. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of folks talking about the housing declines, right? The housing starts, a decline there that's typically doesn't happen when the economy is strong. So who knows if that's some of the effects of lower rates, people back in the market as rates go down. I don't know, but we'll have to wait till September to see what those next numbers are. And of course, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of that talk over the weekend too, in regards to, is this the start of the recession? Uh, so anyway, so that's the SPY. So 555, big spot there, closing over the 50-day moving average for the second day in a row. That's a good sign. Small caps in the green right now. Knock on wood. Hopefully that closes in the green and can start to get back up to where it was back at the end of July. And then the VIX, just a massive reversal, down another percent today in the 14s. And this is only after 65, just insanity. I mean, it's definitely gonna be one of the historical drops of the VIX in recorded time that it's been tracked. All right, so individual names. I just before I got on the chat, I love Dell. I think Dell. I put it on the watch list this morning. 116, 117, maybe in the coming days. They report earnings in 2 weeks. I think possibly it's going to come up and test that 50-day moving average of 125 before earnings. It might be a struggle. But I don't want to be in a spot this weekend where, if there's a gap down, it opens at 105 or something, my calls get destroyed. So I locked the rest of my 110 strikes in for close to, I guess, 600%. Ironically enough, the 110s would have been substantial, right? 2,500%. But got to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you get caught with your pants down. So lock those in. Definitely a name I'll continue to trade for upside. I said, like, if you liked it at 185, there's not much that has changed besides the narrative in regards to its margins and the Blackwell chip being delayed. So you take those two things together, does that warrant a valuation drop of 50% on Dell? And Dell crossed $100 billion for the first time ever. Like, anyway, go on a rant for a while. So name I'll certainly revisit, but was a good one this week. Not going to cry out. I'm missing the bigger end of the move on the 100 strikes, and just be happy that I was able to lock some in. That's number one. Number two, back in block, right? So I posted a chart in the chat room before. I'll post it again, but you take a look at this. Every time it has broken over its 50-day moving average, it was a start of a larger move to the upside. You see it back at the end of February. You see it at the start of April, about a $7 move. Back when I had the strikes that started July, you can see that move from 65 all the way to near 74. And here we are again, deja vu all over again, breaking over the 50-day moving average, closed over it yesterday, or right at it, and today we're above it. I could see square. I could see, excuse me, block. I like to call it square. It just sounds right because that's what I remember it as. But I could see block going back over $70. So went and got some strikes. They're a little bit in the green. Love to see it close at highs over 66, and I think it's off to the races next week. So that's kind of the thought process on Ed and those strikes. SE, it was actually up near $80 for a while, trying to break through at the noon hour, was trading up there all the way up to about 215, and then just a little pull here off the highs, trading at 79.50, still in the green. I'll continue to hold my August 30 strikes. Already locked a lot of those in for some nice profits. Still think this trades up into the mid 80s and 90s in the coming weeks. It's just a story that just I think it's underappreciated. And I think, especially over the weekend, people start to look at reports and things like that. They'll say, "Wow, we missed SE," and they'll probably pile in starting Monday. So really like that one for upside. And again, you look at the longer chart, and I'm not saying it's going to go up to $130, but there's plenty of room, plenty of blue skies once it breaks 90 or so. And then not saying guaranteed certain it's going to trade triple digits this year, but I could see it trading well above $100, and it would still be undervalued based on its segments, its business, the guidance it gave, and its e-commerce segment. So that's that. Baidu, I mentioned this in the chat room as well. It's probably going to close at 88.99 just to spite me. Still have some 89 and 90 spec calls. I got those September strikes as well to play for earnings next week. You look at BABA today, one of those days it hasn't had a good session like today in quite some time. It's up 5%. I'm surprised Baidu's not up more, maybe 3.5%, 4%. It's only up 2.5%. Maybe we get a run here in the last hour and a half. So I'm not going to count out my spec lottos, but it's been stuck here like 88.25 to 88.50. I needed to get over 89. So we'll see what happens here. Still bullish into next week. You take a look at its 50-day moving average, 89.81. Once it gets through there, I think it's $90. And then I can't really think of a situation where their earnings aren't going to be net positive, and they're not going to be able to how they're not going to be able to spin the robo taxi rollout and the AI and all that fun stuff. I just don't know how it can be construed or skewed anyway negative, especially with the stock trading. I mean, $80 was its lows hit right at the start of August. I don't see how it can, with the stock trading near its historical lows, how it can't be, even if it's a inline number, I can't see how it won't trade higher. So that's kind of the thought process there. Did I already talk about Clear Secure? I guess I didn't. But finally, it looks like maybe it's going to close in the red after closing higher for the entire month so far here in August, or at least the first two sessions were in the red. Uh, no, nothing crazy here. I put it on watch list. I might look for some more strikes. I'll probably just be patient into the weekend. It doesn't make sense to add more risk into the weekend. There'll be plenty of time. It's not the fastest mover, but really like that one for upside. And then last but not least, and I'm not going to talk too much about EMVX, but here it is back under $10. That 200-day moving average, it's like oil and vinegar. It has tried to break above that. It just hasn't. And it's, I don't know what catalyst. I mean, the company is known for putting out some press releases. Maybe they'll have some kind of memorandum of understanding press release with some unnamed, soon to be named phone company or watch company or virtual reality headset company or any of that stuff. You never know. And then, of course, the folks who are bullish the name will eat it up like it's sliced bread, and then it'll be back to reality again. I keep thinking it's coming under $8. Unfortunately, the premiums on my puts remain, that because the puts prices were elevated already. They're not gaining much premium at all. So even the move under here at $10, they're just sitting there. So I probably won't add anything more. It's it's tough to weigh the risk reward, but I just, my gut says it's going under $8. So pending any catalyst, but at the same token, I'm not going to rule out some kind of press release that comes out that's just they're gonna squeeze the shorts, right? I mean, that's there's their road, they have, it's like a biotech company, right? Take a look at Turn's in a phase 1 study. They're releasing data in September. They have years before any drug might come to the market. So they're between now when Turn does in September when they come out with the data and the possibility of their drug ever coming to market, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in between. And similar with the NVX, they have a battery. It's not, they're sort of, I guess you would call it, before they have revenue, similar to a biotech company, early stage. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on between being early stage and being finally having revenues and meaningful revenues. And ENVX, I mean, it's a similar to some of these biotech names. It's a binary story, right? They're either gonna, if they have the best battery and they are able to sign agreements and contracts and get into the top phones and have able to have a factory that produces these batteries at a high level, millions and millions of batteries. Maybe it trades higher. I don't know. You start looking at some of these competitors that right now are in phones that I mean they trade at 1 times revenues. So I don't know what EMVX is, a $2 billion, $1.5 billion company right now. So you're talking it has to do 150 million batteries at $10 a pop just to rationalize its current price. And then you got to take out all the other stuff, their debt and how long it takes and dilution. So There's a lot of moving parts. So that's why when you have these names and it has a high short interest, a lot of it's because people are there's a bet that either it's going to be the best battery manufacturer in all the phones, or it's never going to make it off the ground, you know? So it's very binary in nature, and because of that, there's a huge short interest. Anyway, rants for other days. So that's why I continue to hold the puts. I think that's about it. I'm trying to think of some of these other names. Baba. Yeah, I'm still looking at turn strikes. And I was looking at them before. The spreads are so wide, it's going to be tough. And we know data is going to be out in September. And the good thing is, September 20th is the expiration, which gives time for the company to release the data before September 20th. But if they don't, those calls are going to get destroyed, and then you have to go out to October, and those premiums are pretty high. So I'm trying to balance. Do I want to have some Septembers, maybe some 10s, and then maybe some Octobers? I think I'll have time. They're not gonna, unless they surprise and release data next week. So that's something I'll mull over. And again, I'm not going to try and hold too much risk into the weekend. And Fiverr's starting to come back here. Still have some hopium, I guess I would call it, on my September strikes. Still love the name. I mean, the issue, I wouldn't say the issue, but there are some things that I could say maybe my thought process in regards to, or my rationale for being bullish on Fiverr with the AI, meaning that folks who want to utilize AI would use Fiverr, the Fiverr platform, to help them access things that AI can do. Now you have other platforms that can do that for you. And I mean, you look at X, and you go to Grok, and there's so many different things that you can do. You just type in and it says, make an avatar of my picture, and it does it for you, you know? And maybe it doesn't do it the way you want it, but you can fine tune it. It's pretty amazing stuff. So I'm not saying that Fiverr won't still have a place in the market, but maybe my bull case for Fiverr, I might have to take it back a notch, right? Until this kind of all plays out. So that's kind of the thought process there. I'm trying to think of some of the other names. Take a look at Riley, right? Who was Stutz was mentioned it before in the chat room. That name I played back. So if you don't know the whole story, I was a big bull in Tesla and a big bull in Trupanion. This might be in like 2013, 2014, and this entire group of folks just came at me. A lot of them I don't see them anymore because I blocked them or they blocked me. But then I was posting again on Trupanion, and then all of a sudden I see them posting negative about this company Riley. I'm like, what's this? And it's not like they post negatively. They go straight out bash them, post pictures, derogatory comments, like nothing to do with the fundamentals, just calling these people without much, sometimes without posting anything in truth, just saying this person's part of my language, a scumbag, fatso. They say crazy stuff, right? So to me, that kind of takes away from credibility around a bear case, right? But some of these people, they have ammo, they have money, and it's almost like it's similar to what Jim Chanos and all these other folks tried to do with Tesla: create enough fear, uncertainty, and doubt, get their debts priced so high that it almost forces the case to come to fruition, right? It's like if we can force all the yields to go nuts on their preferred stock, we can get all the yields to go on their bonds go nuts. That the point where the company who's paying an insurmountable amount of debt, they'll just go bankrupt. I'm not saying that's what happened. That's happened with Riley, but that's how it came to my attention. So anyway, it came to my attention in the spring, and I was able to play the squeeze because I thought a lot of what they had there was merits to it, right? Because there's a company, FRG, and I guess the name is Khan. He's part of a Ponzi scheme or something with one of the hedge funds. So he was part of this, and supposedly the Riley leadership was in cahoots with him. They didn't put all the loans and stuff that they have properly. So anyway, so it looks like some of it's coming to fruition. Stocks getting destroyed. Uh, so I don't even know why I'm going my rant, but just looking at Riley's, just interesting stuff nonetheless. On the flip side, those same folks are short Trupanion, and Trupanion's hitting multi-year highs right now. So, I'm sure they make a lot of money on the Riley shorts going definitely in their direction. They would have had to hold through that whole squeeze up to $40, whatever it did. So it took a lot of, conviction and a lot of pain, sleeping overnight, wondering if it's going to squeeze anymore. It's very hard to hold a position like that. But at the same token, when these people have large positions, they know how to hedge themselves. They can sell, they can sell premium and then just, protect themselves. And that's what they do. And that's why you see in ENVX, it's a similar story. And again, these same folks are in ENVX, but they're long ENVX. And same thing with the premiums. The premiums are whacked a little bit, or elevated because people use the option market to hedge themselves on both sides, right? It's huge short interest. So shorts are pretty savvy, or they're supposed to be savvy. They find ways to protect themselves just in case there is a squeeze, right? And then when it does squeeze, they can use some of that money to go and short some more. So rants for other days, folks. We got 1 hour, 16 minutes to close. Hope we had a good week. Everybody have a great weekend. I'll be back on audio Monday morning and maybe over the weekend too. Rock and roll.